Mhm.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, and welcome to the State of In-Flight Wi-Fi, the Next Generation. As the title of the webinar states, we are here today to provide an overview of in-flight Wi-Fi and the airline connectivity space, which more than anything means the emergence of next-generation technology. As you often hear while in the boarding process on an aeroplane, the flight attendants give you a warning that you're on a specific flight to a specific destination, and that if you don't want to travel there, you need to get off the plane now. For the next hour or so, this flight will be a discussion about Wi-Fi connectivity on an aeroplane. If you're in the wrong webinar, this is your last chance to exit. So let me take the opportunity to set the agenda for today. For the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to provide an overview specific to how iPass and Gogo are involved with in-flight connectivity, in addition to the state of the global in-flight industry. During our presentation, each of you will have the opportunity to ask questions via the chat box as part of the webinar. We encourage you to ask questions, as the last 30 minutes of today's session will be set aside to answer any questions that you may all have. When asking your question, please include your name and company. That way, if we don't have the answer to your question, we can reach out to you later. So let's start things off with introductions. My name is Mark Nash, and I'm the Director of Supplier Relationship Management Americas for iPass, and I'm based in New York City. Joining me today is Tim Twohig, Vice President of Channel Partnerships for Gogo.
Hey, everybody.
So, you might be asking, what is iPass and how do we play in Wi-Fi in general, and more specifically in flight Wi-Fi? So iPass is a leading provider of global mobile connectivity. We offer unlimited, everywhere, invisible connectivity powered by the world's largest Wi-Fi network. It's a SaaS subscription model as a secure cloud-based service. Access to over 64 million hotspots in more than 180 countries and territories. That's with over 140 network providers. We have access to over 3,000 iPass-enabled aircraft. And it's through our partnership with all the Wi-Fi network providers that we are defined as the leader in Wi-Fi connectivity. So we're all here today because we agree on one thing. We all want to be connected, especially in flight. We probably manage a mobile team or even a team of business travelers that absolutely need to be always on to be productive. In turn, more and more airlines are offering in-flight Wi-Fi. Imagine this, it was only in 2006 that companies began offering in-flight services. In 2008, Gogo made its debut on commercial aircraft, and very soon after, iPass and Gogo began our roaming relationship, and we've been partners ever since. Now, in-flight Wi-Fi is considered absolutely indispensable. As in-flight Wi-Fi has become more prevalent, our behaviours have changed from a travel perspective. Nearly half of passengers would dump their preferred airline carrier over bad Wi-Fi coverage. Ryanair and EasyJet better watch out. And that behaviour is more pronounced among younger cohorts. For instance, nearly 2/3 of millennial travellers think more flights should offer Wi-Fi. And in case you don't know, they are the business travellers of the future. So leaving your office no longer means wasted time. The flexibility offered by onboard connectivity allows passengers the freedom to multitask on board, much as they do on the ground. Over half, 55% to be exact, of all in-flight connectivity users have connected more than one device to in-flight Wi-Fi. Communication and connectivity is even more important for business travellers. According to an Inmarsat study that I looked at, the top activities while in flight are: 1, browsing the internet; 2, visiting social networks, let's hope it's LinkedIn and not Tinder; 3, using email; 4, transferring files via email; and 5, using corporate business tools. No longer wasted time. So in-flight Wi-Fi has really become truly global, but the US remains out in front. Regionally, the US is the undisputed leader in in-flight Wi-Fi. There are more connected aircraft operating in the US compared to any other region, and more US airlines have Wi-Fi enabled aircraft. Right now, you can expect that most flights provided by US airlines will have in-flight connectivity. So about 80% of you will get online when you get on board a flight in the US. But globally, we're seeing changes. Everyone is catching up, as evidenced by the fact that so many airlines around the world now offer in-flight Wi-Fi or are in the process of trialling it out with a view to bringing it on board. If we look at the global distribution of the top 10 airline Wi-Fi providers measured by available seat miles, you have a smattering of US heavyweights: Delta, United, American, Southwest, which are the 4 largest airlines in the world. But you also have international airlines from Europe, Lufthansa, the Middle East, Emirates and Etihad, and Southeast Asia, Singapore, that are adding Wi-Fi. In Europe, we're starting to see the likes of BA, Iberia, Air France, KLM, all figuring out that Wi-Fi is a must-have in today's world. As a side note, for those of you that are based in Europe, globally, business travel is increasing, and the US remains the top destination for global business travelers, which means that if you have mobile teams are flying within the US, they will most likely be connected. So in-flight in Europe has traditionally lagged behind the US, in a large part because of the difficulty in installing transmission towers in different countries and the return on investment with regards to shorter flight journeys. But European airlines are starting to catch up quickly and innovating with satellite-based Wi-Fi. You can expect to see even more rapid changes in Europe in the next year or two. Gogo, for one, is expanding its presence in Europe, adding Virgin Atlantic, which is currently live. BA, Iberia, Air France and KLM soon to follow. We at iPass have also recently launched a new partnership with the European Aviation Network, and this includes coverage with Lufthansa, Australian Airlines, as well as the IAG Group. So I'm now going to hand over to Tim to give you a deep dive on Gogo and what's happening in the latest in-flight technologies. Tim, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Mark, and thanks everybody for letting me come and speak with you today. I'm going to give you a quick overview on Gogo and talk about some of the technology changes that are coming your way and some of the trends in the industry this year. So if we could move on to the next slide. Gogo is an in-flight internet provider, and our sole mission in life is to provide connectivity, entertainment, and technical services to the aviation industry. We have a division that focuses specifically on business aviation, which is all the privately held jets in the world, and prop planes for that matter too. And we also, the group I'm part of is our commercial aviation division, which handles all of our commercial aviation partners. Currently, we have over 7,000 combined connected aircraft using our technology, and that number is pretty evenly split between commercial airlines and business airlines or business aviation. We have 18 commercial airline partners who are all listed on the right-hand side of this slide, and we have some partnerships with some of the biggest fractional providers in the world as well, like NetJets and JetSuite. We now have over 2,000 commitments from commercial airline partners to install our latest technology, which is 2KU, and we'll talk about that a little bit in the next couple of minutes. We serve over 100,000 internet sessions a day on commercial airline partners, and we serve well over 8,000 flights per day on our commercial partners as well. All right, next slide, please. There we go. So as an internet provider to aviation, we do several things. Probably the most important thing is we operate our networks. So we have a regional air-to-ground network in North America that covers all of the continental US, as well as part of Alaska and quite a bit of Canada as well. And we also have a worldwide Ku-band satellite network that we operate. So we keep those networks operational. We also provide our aviation partners with the gear that goes onto the plane that helps them connect to our networks. We handle all of the regulatory approvals and all the certifications and installation of the gear. And depending on the needs of our partners, we can either be the end-to-end provider with Gogo service, or we can provide essentially a wholesale type of service to our partners, in which we provide the connectivity with some APIs that they can build their own connectivity service on top of. All right, next slide, please. So if we look at our technology evolution over the years, and this gets to what I think are the two biggest trends for 2018 in in-flight connectivity. First trend we've already talked about is the global expansion of in-flight. I think we're seeing plenty of non-US airlines that are getting into the game, and they are making selections, and we've been fortunate enough to be selected by quite a few large providers. And we're going to start seeing those installations happening this year. But the other thing that's going to happen this year is we're going to see a considerable improvement in user experience, speed, and capacity for these networks. So when we first launched our ATG network back in 2008, we were delivering about 3 megabits per second to each aircraft, and we thought that was a lot. And for a while it was a lot, because people took some time to discover the service, understand that it was available, and figure out that it was very useful. But once that happened, we started realizing that 3 megabits per second was not all that much data. So in 2012, we rolled out the first improvement for our network, which was a technology called ATG4 that got us about 10 megabits per second to the plane. And while tripling your capacity seems like a great thing, user demand was quickly outpacing our ability to supply demand or the capacity. So we invested very heavily into developing our own satellite solution. And mid last year, in 2016, we launched our first 2KU aircraft. And that technology at its launch allowed us to get about 70 megabits per second to the aircraft, which is a 7x improvement over our ATG4 network. And as we go forward in time, we're going to see additional improvements. So we've got new modem enhancements coming. We've got our satellite partners have already committed to launching new satellites to replace their KU satellites with high density transmission systems. And so all of that combined, we're going to easily get over 100 megabits per second to each aircraft. And so that is where a significant amount of the capacity and user experience improvements are going to come from in this upcoming year. We've got not only all of our international partners are launching with 2KU service, but even some of our incumbent US partners like Delta and American have committed to putting 2KU on some of their domestic fleet even in order to take advantage of some of the capacity improvements. So with all that happening in satellite, we still do have a very large market, certainly here in the United States and somewhat worldwide, but of smaller aircraft, regional aircraft, or aircraft that may be perhaps getting to the end of their lifespan where they don't want to make huge capital improvements to, where ATG is still going to be the technology of choice. And to service those aircraft better, next year we're going to be launching an improvement to our ATG network, which is our next gen ATG capability, which adds some additional spectrum and additional technology, and we should be able to deliver. We've already demonstrated the system being able to deliver 100 megabits per second to those aircraft as well. So we have several technologies that airlines can choose from, and we're going to be seeing those technologies introduced at a pretty rapid rate this year, and we should see pretty impressive user experience enhancements. All right, next page, please. This shows us our coverage for our ATG network. And the ATG network obviously was built to service our domestic U.S. airline partners. And the nice little diagonal line on the top left there was added when we added Alaska Airlines to our partner list, so that they could service a lot of their flights between Seattle and Alaska. Move on to the next slide. So this slide shows we've already got a global satellite network that serves all of the flight plans that our partner airlines have, right? And we have a considerable amount of resource in the sky already. But as we grow and as we add more aircraft, we have commitments, and we already have long-term agreements with all of our satellite partners for additional bandwidth and additional transponder capacity, as well as our partners launch their HTS satellites, which improves the transmission rates. We're going to be able to take advantage of those as well. So the map on the right shows the high density in the purple. That's the improved bandwidth offerings that our satellite providers are going to be providing. And the blue coverage shows today's capabilities, which is still very, very much bigger improvement over today's network. So we still get 100 megabits per second in those areas as well. And the other thing to point out is that our satellite solution is somewhat technology agnostic, so it's been designed such that we can take advantage of future satellite capabilities. So some of the initiatives, OneWeb, and some of the low Earth orbit constellations that are being proposed now. All right. Next slide, please. So this picture shows us the antennas that go on top of the aircraft for our 2KU solution. We've currently got almost 500 aircraft installed with 2KU today. And by the end of the year, we should be well over 500. And as mentioned before, we've got commitments for over 2,000 aircraft to be installed with 2KU. And our promise to our airline partners is that we will provide 15 megabits per second to each passenger. We will cover 98% of their flight plans, and we will cover or provide 98% availability in the cabin. Next slide. Thank you. And then this just talks a little bit about next-gen ATG. So this is being developed to help our domestic airline partners service their entire fleets and provide a really good user experience throughout their entire fleets, even on the regional planes. And it also is great for private aviation as well. Next slide. And as Mark had referenced earlier, iPass had undertaken a survey of their in-flight users, as we have done earlier this year as well. And some of the results, as should be no surprise, came out very similar. So we found that in the survey of our users that our users overwhelmingly feel that Gogo makes them much more productive when they're in the air, and it helps improve their work-life balance by letting them use what used to be somewhat dead time and be productive during their flight. We've also found that the majority of our users make their airline flight selections based upon the availability of in-flight internet because they find it to be that important and that helpful for them. And then the other thing we found very interesting was a majority of our users, their companies allow them to expense in-flight internet today. And the ones that didn't expected that should be the norm and that they wanted that to happen. So I would say overwhelmingly the feeling in the market from users is that it should be an expensible item. All right. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Mark.
Tim, thanks so much for your insight and giving us an overview of what's coming up in 2018 and beyond. So I think we've spoken about iPass and our commitment to all things Wi-Fi, and we've looked at how Gogo's become the leader in in-flight Wi-Fi, and Gogo is planning to keep that leadership position now into the future. So I wanted to add a few data points from survey results that we've seen. Look at the incredible demand for in-flight, and that demand is colouring the way people choose airlines. 83% of people actually choose airlines based on Wi-Fi. And for business travel managers, it's important to appreciate the fact that nearly 80% of people will actually pay for Wi-Fi. They often expense that charge, which then gets buried in the black budget. This particular piece of information is eye-opening for one simple reason. Most people, when asked about Wi-Fi access, they want it like they have it at home or in the office, fast and most importantly, free. In-flight Wi-Fi is different. People will and do pay for in-flight Wi-Fi. Why? Simply, they see the value in the offering and will pay for the privilege. So finally, just to wrap all this up, just to give you an overview, iPass provides seamless, secure in-flight connectivity across 20 leading airlines. Besides Gogo, our other in-flight Wi-Fi providers are Panasonic, T-Mobile and United Airlines. The North American domestic in-flight coverage covers about 2,900 aircraft. Now that's equipped with Gogo. Gogo also have international operations with JAL in Japan, GOL in Brazil, Virgin Australia, Virgin Atlantic that we've already touched upon, and Aero Mexico. So it truly is becoming an international operation. We also have international in-flight across about 300 planes via Panasonic, and that's a large number of airlines, some of the ones shown on the slide. And we also have full coverage coming across United Airlines, both international and domestic. And hopefully we'll be able to announce that, and it will be live soon. So, finally, just before I wrap up, I want to thank you for flying with iPass, and I would also very much like to extend my thanks to Tim from Gogo for joining us on this journey. If you want to know more, then please feel free to contact myself at mnash@ipass.com, or you can reach out to sales-americas@ipass.com. So, I think we're now in a position to open the floor for questions for both iPass and Gogo. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to pull your questions together, and Tim and I will answer them. Thank you very much for your time.
Hey guys, we have a question from Jane. She asks, it seems when traveling, if you're not one of the first 30 passengers signed on, you may not get connectivity for either domestic or internationally.
Tim, do you want to take that one? Because I think the new technology resolves some of those issues.
Yeah, so I think at Gogo, we've never limited the number of users that can get on the network. Now, certainly, the more users sharing bandwidth, certainly on some of the lower bandwidth solutions, can make the experience slow. But we have not limited the number of people who can get on. Now, other providers may do that. And I think, as Mark touched on, once we get a much broader distribution of 2KU out there, that will become less and less of a problem because there's a ton more bandwidth to share.
Thanks, Tim. Alex, questions?
Yeah, we have a question from Kathy. She asks if the slides will be available.
Yes, we will be sending out the slides and the recording of the deck, the recording of the webinar after the presentation is concluded.
We have a question from Sean. He asks, how do you secure Wi-Fi access in flight?
Sorry, how do you secure Wi-Fi access in flight? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Let's see if he clarifies.
Well, I suspect that's probably more of a technical question with regards to the VPN and the security functionality that iPass offers. So maybe we can take that one offline and send him some further information.
Yeah, he clarified. He just asked, how do you ensure security of access?
Yeah, so I think that's probably one it's above my level of technical expertise. So I'm going to ask somebody to pull together some information and provide that to him, and anybody else that's interested, if they would like to provide their email address and contact details, we can cover that off for them.
All right, we have a question for Tim. Besides Europe, what are other priority regions for Gogo's international expansion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've been successful in partnering with airlines throughout the world. We have just announced a partnership with Cathay Pacific. We have Virgin Australia coming on board. We've got GOL in Brazil, as well as LATAM. And we're in discussions with several airlines throughout Asia, Europe, South America. So we're expanding everywhere we possibly can.
All right, we have another question from Kathy. Is iPass and Gogo working with airlines to be more transparent in how they charge the in-flight Wi-Fi? Meaning, will we be able to identify easily? Yeah, meaning, will we be able to identify easily?
So, sorry, identify easily. I'm not entirely sure on terms of the question. So iPass works with Gogo, and we buy access on a wholesale basis that we then bundle in with our terrestrial offering. So iPass is a flat fee across all our 64 million hotspots. So we don't break out separate pricing by the different airlines or the different regions. So maybe we can follow up with Kathy on that particular question. Just want to check I've answered it correctly. Are there any further questions from anybody?
I'm checking right now. We've got a question from Tim. He says that a user reached out to him today. Delta just made a change to how you can access iPass via their Gogo in-flight network. It's new as of 2 weeks ago. You need to connect to Gogo in-flight and then open airborne.gogoinflight.com in a web browser. The new part is the way to access iPass is in the footer of the web page where it says roaming. Then select iPass from the drop-down option and submit your email, address, and password.
So it sounds like, with regards to that user, it doesn't sound like they're using the software client, the iPass Smart Connect technology, because our users should be able to get onto the plane regardless of which airline and connect seamlessly. The only information they are provided to input is with regards to capture. So I think we need to follow up with that end user to understand what's happening there, because we are working very closely with Gogo in terms of the connection experience, and it should be seamless. So people shouldn't need to use the web-based portal to get online.
We have another question from Sean. When you were in the process of onboarding airlines, flights, and outfitting them with Gogo Wi-Fi, does Gogo and iPass get the new footprint at the same time, or does iPass get it later than Gogo?
This is Tim. Generally speaking, same time. There may be certain airlines who have their own portal, who may not make provisions for iPass immediately, but it's our policy is that when we're onboarding them, we work with them to try to make sure that iPass is enabled as well.
Okay, that's all the questions that we have in the inbox right now. Oh, we've got one more. Joanne asked, how does the iPass product provide enhanced security when using in-flight Wi-Fi?
So I think that's very similar to the question we had earlier, and I think, as I said, it's probably above my level of technical expertise. So rather than coming up with the wrong answer, I want to make sure I respond to that with some technical input from my teams around the security level. So I'd like to take that offline if that's okay.
All right, no more questions yet.
Should we give it another minute?
Yep, looks like we just got another one. From Sean, do you tell users on flights that iPass Wi-Fi is available or coming soon?
Yeah, so our software client will advise if the service is enabled on that flight, and if it's a Gogo flight, it should work. Well, it will work. Yeah, a message will come up telling the user when the service is actually available. Often the service only becomes available above 10,000 feet, at which point you will seamlessly connect. Has that answered that question?
From Sean, if in-flight Wi-Fi is not available yet, but Gogo is working on it, does iPass tell users that it's coming and when?
So if Gogo is enabled on the flight and it doesn't work for our users, then a message will come up saying it's not available at this moment in time. We work very closely with Gogo in terms of making available the airlines as they come on board. As Tim said, if there is a lag between the airline being launched with Gogo and being made available to iPass, we are made aware of that, and we'll make sure we communicate that to our end users. So our end users should not have a poor customer experience on a plane that does not support roaming. Any more questions?
That's it for the questions.
Okay, perfect. Well, once again, I just want to thank everybody for their time. Please feel free to reach out to myself or sales@america@ipass.com if you have any questions. We will make sure we follow up on the technical questions with regards to security. And yeah, please feel free to contact us. Tim, thank you very much for your time. And on that note, I will say, goodbye. Perfect, thank you.